Happy Wednesday, everybody. How's everybody doing? It's the middle of the week. I got a full night of sleep yesterday. Amazing. First time for the week. I'm jazzed up. I got my coffee in front of me. Who's ready for a great conversation here on the stream? I'm so glad that we made it to the halfway point of this week. Lots of announcements today on the stream, so make sure you're paying attention to all of those things, but mostly that we are halfway to the weekend. This has been a very long, trying week on my end, where every single day has felt like Monday so far, including today. So excited for the weekend. I'm sure you guys are as well. Sorry to your ears. Rest in peace, Alex. I'm a little hyped up this afternoon. My apologies. Let's kick things off right away on the stream by first asking everybody, if you haven't already, to introduce yourself over in our chat. Our stream did phenomenally well yesterday on Rumble, which is awesome because that's exactly what we were talking about, the need for platforms like Rumble to exist and why this continued conversation of censorship in long-form video platforms is so concerning and really, really terrifying, inching us closer to 1984, especially amidst all of the Russell Brand scandal and allegations that we've talked about a few times in the last week. So huge shout out to all of our friends over on Rumble who helped already get the stream to over 100,000 views yesterday, which I'm super excited about. But because of that, there's a ton of new people watching us, which I'm very happy about. If you happen to click on this link and you're like, who the heck is this chick? Or you just started following me over on Instagram or TikTok and you found our link to the stream through there. Hi, it's so nice to meet you. I'm Isabel. I am a full-time independent content creator, live streamer, author. I wear a ton of different hats, but basically my job every day is to get up and tell people the truth and make interesting content and have interesting conversations. This stream is 100% independent, which means it is not owned or paid for by any major multi-million-dollar media company. I am sitting right now in the spare bedroom of my apartment in Florida, and what we talk about every day is exactly what you guys want to talk about. It is 100% my unfiltered take on what is going on in the world. We aren't scripted. We aren't pre-planned. This is a true live stream, and we're trying very hard to create as much of a sense of community here on our little corner of the internet as possible, because truly I think there is more and more missing in terms of authenticity in the world today for our generation with every passing day, and we want to bring some of that back. So what you see is what you get right here on the stream, and I absolutely love getting to know each and every one of you. So make sure you're introducing yourself and let us know where you're watching from over in our chat. We'll say hi to some people here in just a second to get things started. But first, want to thank our amazing sponsor of today's streams, our friends over at Nori. You guys have heard me talk about Nori quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, but I'm truly so excited to be partnering with them this fall and winter. They are a wellness company delivering the highest quality and most accessible microbiome solutions on the market. I've been on this big journey over the last several months of detoxing my entire life, everything from the chemicals that I use to clean my house to the skincare and makeup that I put on my face every day. But a huge part of detoxing also has everything to do with what's happening inside of my body, and especially in the gut microbiome, which is the window to health for the rest of your body. Taking Nori products every day means that I am taking vitamins and supplements that have no additives, that are made right here with clean ingredients backed by science in the United States of America. I love their probiotic health. They have a women's health probiotic. They also have products more tailored towards men. Their digestive health supplement is phenomenal, but by far and away, my favorite product of Nori's is their signature Stay Well product, which is simultaneously both supporting your immune system function as well as your digestive system and your gut microbiome. It's kind of like an emergency packet where you pour it into water and you stir it all up, but it tastes so much better and is so much better for you if you travel a lot or you get sick a lot. Like me, Stay Well is a really great product that I know is going to make a huge difference in your life, because I see the huge difference that it's making in my life. You can grab your first Nori product from the link that I just dropped in our live chat. And don't forget to use code Isabel20 for a discount on your order. One really quick announcement before we say hi to everybody is I was supposed to be traveling this weekend to Washington, D.C. to be a featured speaker at an organization and event called the March for the Martyrs, which you may have seen me post about or talk about before. Just a really quick update on their end from the organization. We actually are going to be postponing the March for the Martyrs in Washington, D.C. this weekend. There is a humongo tropical storm coming through the Northeast and coming all the way down south as far as Washington, D.C. And the Weather Channel is saying that the weather is going to be absolutely atrocious, which is no fun at all if you're trying to do an outdoor march and have a lot of press there and bring a lot of attention to this very important subject of Christian persecution that is happening around the world. So I will be joining the March for the Martyrs, just not this weekend in Washington, D.C. It'll be in a couple of months. And as soon as I have some updates for you guys on that end, we will make sure to share them with you. As we're jumping in and saying hi to everybody in our stream today, this is going to be the most positive part of the stream. Sorry, we're talking about some really dystopian, sad, freaky subjects today. Make sure that you are hitting the like button on this stream to help boost us in the algorithm. That could look like a little thumbs up or a heart button. Every time you guys do that, it makes such a huge difference. Ring the notification bell so that you always know when we are going live or uploading a new video. And most importantly, smash that follow or subscribe button wherever you are watching. It will always be totally free and very accessible to watch these streams. But as somebody who doesn't have the backing of a huge multi-million-dollar media company behind her on the stream, it means the absolute world when you guys smash that follow or subscribe button and help grow our channels one day at a time. Because Rumble was so great yesterday in helping to blow up our viewership, we're going to start over there. Mike Wilwin is here. John Best is watching. TZ Patriot is here and says you got a plan to get everybody on this awesome free speech platform. We love to see it. Tito is reminding everybody to hit the like button. Thank you, Tito, for being here. Over on Getter, we've got Nitty Witty and Maiden NYC kicking us off. Odie is in the live chat. Over on YouTube, Marnus, GFact, and Leon are here. Total Package and Frostfang are watching. Dutch Canadian is watching over in the Netherlands. Hey, Dutch Canadian, glad you're here. Marky and Kobe and Jacinta are watching. We've got Leanne and Naruto watching. Josh, Red Scorpion, HWD, Unbear, and T Protocolist are here. Hi, OD, glad you are watching. Tony is joining us. First time catching me live. Hey, Tony, glad you are here. And many more. You guys are the best, and it is the biggest privilege of my life to get to spend every day with you. Finally, over on Locals, to our Locals fam, which you are all invited to join, and we're going to talk a little bit about Locals and why it's so important at the end of the stream, because there is a big promo being run by a bunch of us Locals creators today because of the whole Russell Brand situation, to try to get more people aware of what we're doing over on the platform. So stay tuned for the end. We're going to talk about Locals before we jump over there for our post-stream show and Q&A. But first, let's just say hi. Alex, Johnny, Tito, African Warlord are all watching. We've got Mountain Lover and Magic Def here. You guys are so great. I'm so unbelievably grateful for you. And sadly, that will be the high point of happiness on the stream today, because we've got some really crazy, sad things to talk about on the stream today instead. Boo, I know. But as we always say, the only way to defeat darkness is to what? Drag it out into the light and defeat lies and craziness and immorality with the truth and goodness and beauty. And that is exactly what we like to do here on the stream. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention at all to what's happening over on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. I will never be able to get on board with calling it X. I hate it. I hate the branding. I hate the new name. I fundamentally cannot stand it. And Twitter is not my platform of choice to begin with, to be honest with you. I just think it's the most toxic location on the internet, like way worse than any other platform I am present on. People are terrible to each other over on Twitter. But if you've been paying attention at all over on Twitter in the trending sections, with what people have been paying attention to this week or really upset by, you'll notice that there seems to be a pretty common theme on what people are discussing this week more than anything else. And we talked about this from a different perspective over the last few days here on the stream in regards to online censorship and the court of public opinion far outweighing the importance of a court of law with the Russell Brand allegations, with the idea of Big Brother and censorship and inching closer and closer to 1984 instead of 2024. But there are actually numerous other stories coming from other perspectives that also add to this theory that we are inching closer and closer and closer to 1984 rather than 2024. And two of those stories we are going to be unpacking right here on the stream today. And Bidian is watching over on Rumble, just asked a hilarious question. How do you even tweet on X, or do you just call it a post? See, it's not just me. I will never be able to get on board with the change to X. Are you Xing? It just doesn't work. It doesn't roll off the tongue. I hate it. It is not my thing. I guess you just call it a post now, but I am always going to call it Twitter and tweeting. I digress. Moving on. First and foremost, what's really unbelievably scary is humanity has just seemed to learn absolutely nothing from every dystopian, creepy movie about artificial intelligence and or robots. Because every time we start rolling out programmed robots in movies or books or TV shows, what happens? The robots become way too powerful all on their own, or they malfunction, or they lack any sort of human connection, and they remove the ability to connect with other human people based on a soul from society. So basically all hell breaks loose. The nightmares become reality, and we go into this really creepy postmodern dystopian society, right? We've seen this all the time. It is a very common denominator in all kinds of movies and TV shows. Blade Runner comes to mind, The Terminator comes to mind, almost all of the Avengers movies and Iron Man's innovations come to mind. But I guess people haven't learned from any of these movies or TV shows or books in New York City, because this week the New York City Police Department and Mayor Eric Adams announced that crime has gotten so unbelievably out of control in Manhattan that they will now be bolstering the New York City Police Department's forces with robots. I wish I was making this up. This sounds so unbelievably fictional to me, but it's not. This is 100% real and is easily one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. I have a lot of friends who live in New York, and they just think this is the craziest, most bizarre story that could have possibly happened to them, and certainly won't solve the issues of rising violent crime in cities like New York City. But I digress. The New York Times reported on this earlier, I guess at the end of last week, but a few days ago, that a 400-pound robot operated and controlled by the New York City Police Department is being rolled out to be used specifically in the Times Square subway station, because there is so much crime and so much undercover nonsense happening beneath the surface in New York City, in Manhattan, and in the center of the city in particular, in the Times Square subway station, which if you've ever been to Manhattan, you'll know this is one of the busiest subway stations in the entire city, and they're calling it the K5. It is a New York City Police Department robot, a robot police officer, because what could possibly go wrong? But it's not just a robot that's controlled by people. No. That would be far too simple and far too predictable. Instead, it's a fully autonomous security robot. What on earth that is supposed to mean, I have absolutely no idea, is part of a push by the mayor for more law enforcement technology, which has raised concerns among privacy advocates. Gee, I wonder why. Because not only is it a robot, it is a fully autonomous robot that just does its own thing and has nobody patrolling it, nobody programming it, nobody controlling it. I just cannot possibly see the potential ramifications for what could go wrong for humanity in the middle of the busiest subway station, in the middle of the busiest, most packed, populated city in the United States of America. Who knows? The New York Times ended up saying what weighs almost 400 pounds stands roughly 5'3". So this thing is taller than me, for the record. I'm 5'1". That's terrifying. And according to Mayor Eric Adams, will be a valuable tool in New York City's law enforcement efforts. It looks like a version of R2-D2, the droid from Star Wars films. I don't know what it's supposed to be, he said, as he took a picture of the object. They're also calling it a trash can on wheels, but again, its official name is K5. 5, and it's based out of California from its manufacturer called Nightscope, described as a fully autonomous outdoor security robot. It is currently used already in hospitals, malls, airports, warehouses, and casinos, and will now be deployed by the government in the Times Square subway station, the city's busiest underground transit hub. The robot is armed with 4 cameras, will record video, but not audio. Why? Why wouldn't you record audio if you're trying to understand crime? I don't know. It will not employ facial recognition. I don't know why. I don't believe that, to be honest with you. Something in my gut just really doesn't want to believe that. Couldn't tell you why, possibly. And at a moment where the mayor is calling for vital city agencies to slash 5% of their budgets, the cost of leasing it averages out to about $9 per hour. This is below minimum wage, said the mayor. It doesn't need bathroom breaks or meal breaks because it's not a human being. So it's going to be far more cost effective for our city to just employ a robot that doesn't need to make a minimum wage, that doesn't need to take a bathroom break, that isn't possibly going to understand humanity or be able to recognize a human being, is just a machine, because that looks far more appealing to our city that is quite literally going up in flames, while we incentivize crime, while we refuse to punish criminals, and while we refuse to actually fund and bolster the one agency that's supposed to disincentivize crime, the New York City Police Department. The robot is beginning its pilot stage on Friday night, so very, very soon, and it's going to spend 2 weeks mapping out the station at Times Square. Is it like a Roomba? Does it have to map out the station to understand where it is? Like the little robot vacuums in your house? It will be accompanied by a human officer from midnight to 6 a.m. to introduce K5 to the public. There will be docks where K5 can recharge like a giant Roomba. That's what I just said. The self-directing vacuum. Once the pilot is complete, the robot is expected to patrol the station's mezzanine level, but not the platforms. Isn't this where the crime is happening? I'm so confused. Why would you roll these out to stop crime if you're not actually rolling them out where the crime is happening? What am I missing? I am so genuinely confused. But the goal is for this to become a mobile camera that people can use to call for help. The rollout of the new technology comes as the city's subway stations are springing to life after a pandemic slump. Richard A. Davey, who is the president of New York City Transit, said 4 million riders used the subway each day from Tuesday to Thursday, most likely making this the highest ridership week in 3 years. The mayor once patrolled the subways as a transit cop, ironically, was elected on a promise to reduce crime without violating New Yorkers' civil rights. Well, that's ironic as you roll out a massive robot machine that is quite literally intended to violate individuals' civil rights. What could possibly go wrong? He supports technology to enhance law enforcement. He went on a trip in August to Israel where he saw how law enforcement there uses drones in conjunction with motorcycles. At the police academy in New York, the police deployed drones over Labor Day weekend to monitor 2 million people who attended festivities. He's also a proponent of DigiDog. I don't know if you guys have seen DigiDog, but it's a really, really scary freaking machine. I hate it. It makes my skin crawl. It is literally something out of a horror movie. It's a robotic dog and very, very creepy. It doesn't look like a dog. It's not like cute and fluffy like a dog. It is very freaking scary. That is often deployed in emergency situations, but people are also starting to suggest we use it for security and more common situations like this one that K5 is going to be rolled out in. Privacy rights advocates remain skeptical. Gee, again, I wonder why. In May, the Legal Aid Society requested that the police department's inspector general investigate the department's use of surveillance technology, contending that it violated the Public Oversight of Surveillance Technology Act, a city law requiring the department to publish details about how new technology is being used and the data that it collects. Everybody's wary that even though they're saying it's not collecting this data now, it's probably eventually going to employ facial recognition technology. Shocking. And if the mayor thinks that there aren't already enough cameras in Times Square, then he's more out of touch than I realized. So understanding this, maybe I'm just not picking up on what's actually happening. There is, in the middle of the busiest subway station in New York City, in the middle of the busiest city in America, where there are quite literally surveillance cameras everywhere. Like every single square inch of the area is on surveillance camera. There is such a huge issue with violent crime and even petty crime that we need to not deploy more police officers to diffuse the situation and disincentivize the crime. No, instead there is a need to roll out a massive human-sized robot, taller than Isabel, to go record video, to add more cameras, but not where the crime is actually happening. No, that would make far too much sense. Instead, we're going to do it in the mezzanine so that if something bad is happening, people can call the police using this robot cameraman. I don't understand the complete lack of logic in the people running our cities and our states and our country. It doesn't make any sense. But this is what this company continues to tell us, that the K5 can serve as a physical deterrence. This robot, the K5 robot, a giant weird video recording machine that allegedly isn't recording your face and allegedly isn't going to be armed or dangerous against people. It's just taking video file and can help you call 911 because your phone, the robot in your pocket, can't do that. This robot is the same amount of a physical deterrence to crime as the blue light stands are the same amount of physical deterrence to crime like rape and sexual assault on America's college campuses all over the country. Do you guys remember when you were touring whatever school you ended up going to, or maybe you've taken your kid to tour college campuses in the last several years, and every single campus tour guide, I would know because I was a campus tour guide on my college campus, points out the little blue light stands all over campus, and they're like, don't worry, you never have to worry about walking home late at night alone. You can press this button, the blue light button, and the police will be here in 5 minutes. Never mind the fact that 5 minutes is the longest period of time humanly possible. And if someone was actually following you home, or if there was a really creepy person trying to commit sexual assault or rape against you, 5 minutes is way too long to wait for the police when things like that happen. But all of these cute little buttoned up polo wearing campus tour guides will never hesitate to tell you, don't you worry, crime is not a problem on our campus because we have this magic blue light button. To me, the robot deterring crime by just standing there recording video and helping you call 911 is the exact same amount of a physical deterrence as the blue light pointless buttons on the heart of America's college campuses. But don't you worry, according to their manufacturer, it's weatherproof. It can go 3 miles per hour, shocking, and can provide 360-degree recording in high definition and issue audio messages. When a button is pressed to call for assistance, the robot issues a series of beeps, very R2-D2, and then says this call may be recorded for your safety. But I'm sorry, I thought it wasn't recording audio. Didn't we just say it wasn't recording audio a few paragraphs above? It's already inconsistent, and I'm just going to say for myself, immediately no. Immediately no. No. Assuming no one pushes this thing off the platform, which I think is probably imminent in its first weekend being rolled out quite literally in the heart of America's subways in New York City, I'm pretty sure somebody will just push this thing off the platform in front of a moving train, but assuming it is not, this is maybe the weirdest pilot program I've ever seen from the New York City Police Department. And it's crazy to me that what used to be the most revered, the most respected, and the most emulated police department in the United States of America, particularly in a post 9/11 world with the rise and investment and care for the New York City Police Department in the early 2000s, that things have gotten so bad and so many people have left the force post-COVID, and rightfully so. They had really extreme regulations that made it almost impossible to do your job. So many people have left the force post all of the BLM riots and not being able to actually arrest people for crime, and rightfully so. And there is so much of a budget crisis because people are spending money on stupid shit in the United States government. Forgive my language, but that's just objectively true. It's gotten this bad that we need 5'3" robots to record videos of crimes happening. instead of actually arresting criminals because we have enough police officers with the right resources to do that, and then prosecuting those people for their crimes. I love how we have enough resources to put robots that go 3 miles an hour in the heart of our subway stations and to patrol people going to Labor Day weekend parties with drones, but we don't have enough to improve the resources actually available to law enforcement officers. Crazy how that all works, isn't it? This is what these robots actually look like. This is from CNBC on YouTube from a day ago. These are the robots. This is K5. It is taller than me. It doesn't look that big in this video, but it's actually huge. There's Mayor Adams standing right next to it. This thing is massive, way bigger than an R2-D2 is, and that's what most people are comparing this to. And you know what? R2-D2 would never illegally record you and spy on you and transfer your audio messages or your facial recognition to the government. Just would never happen. So would not be in favor of a program like this. But it was unveiled last week by the mayor, Eric Adams, in the heart of this subway station. I think it is the craziest, weirdest thing I've ever seen. The technology is on a 2-month lease to the city and will be patrolling overnight in the Times Square station, because sitting in the mezzanine of the Times Square subway station, not on the platform, recording videos in the middle of the night is exactly what is going to stop criminals from committing crimes. Don't we love to see that? That's just exactly what the nation really desperately needs. They're not going to be down here, for the record. They aren't on the platform. They already told us that. It's going to be up in the mezzanine, above all of the escalators. The mayor ended up speaking about why he thinks this is so important. We don't really need to go into it too much, but basically that this is going to be a huge deterrent. And you push this magic button to call for help, to essentially call 911, which would take just as much time to pull your phone, the small, very effective robot, out of your pocket and dial 911, or click the side button 3 times to dial 911. The president of New York City Transit thinks that K5 is different from other security cameras because it can move around and it's weatherproof. And this is brand new technology that we've never seen before, even though we have surveillance cameras all over our subway stations. New Yorkers think that this is really freaking crazy. They assure us that K5 is not going to be recording audio or using facial recognition technology. But of course, if you read the fine print, of course they're recording audio, because they might record your phone call to the police to share that information and those details with the police. And if you honest to God think the government isn't already using facial recognition technology, for the love of God, please continue to wake up. That is what this stream is for. Consider that your official homework, to wake up. Weird, creepy, bizarre, and clearly people have learned absolutely nothing from all of the weird horror dystopian movies and TV shows and books that have governed American entertainment and that industry for quite some time. I love that everybody's arguing in our chat about who's going to push out the robot in front of the subway station. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's ridiculous. Mountain Lover says, I just burst out laughing when it said these are weatherproof and they go 3 miles per hour, because that's exactly what's going to stop crime, right? But if you think that was bad, that's really nothing. That's a laughable story compared to this next one that I want us to dive into. I found out about this not from the mainstream media, because they certainly weren't the first people talking about it, but from Twitter, now X, and TikTok, that our own CIA announced this week that they are going to be rolling out their own artificial intelligence tool. And if you know anything about our intelligence agencies in the United States, what you really should know is this: if they're announcing that they are going to do something, it probably means they've already been doing it for a very long period of time. But I saw this trending on X a few days ago and was just floored how truly dystopian, Big Brother, and scary this is. This is quite literally the definition of spooky season, so sorry to freak you out. But America's major intelligence agency in the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, announced this week that they are going to roll out their own AI program that they have developed that will be implemented in all 18 intelligence agencies across the US government. So every single intelligence agency that we have is going to start using this new program that is developed by the CIA, and it's specifically aimed at, quote, sifting through massive amounts of data. That's all they say to explain to this, which is so creepy, so dystopian, so Big Brother. It blows my mind, but it reminds me a lot of the text of the Restrict Act, which we've talked about at length here on the stream over the last several months. It's the ban TikTok bill that everybody seems to be so in favor of all of a sudden, even though we can't agree on literally anything across the United States government. We can't agree on the definition of a woman. We can't agree on whether or not to stop funding somebody else's war. We can't agree on what food should be eligible for human consumption. We can't agree on what school curriculum should look like. But sure, across the board, we are all bipartisanly supporting this bill that's going to ban TikTok because it's so scary, and banning TikTok isn't even present in the text of the bill. But if you haven't read the Restrict Act before, essentially it is a Patriot Act for the modern day age. It incentivizes the government through unelected bureaucrats, namely the Secretary of Commerce, to be able to have total jurisdiction over what content and what people are present on the internet, what content and what people pose a potential threat to the United States government and can be treated as a foreign agency or foreign enemy to the United States of America. Newsflash, even if you are an American citizen, you can already be prosecuted as an enemy of the state and as a foreign enemy to the state based on the Patriot Act from the early 2000s, which is really scary. But this is notching this up to a whole new level and degree that we truly have never seen before with the digital age and with the internet and our ability to freely speak in the digital age. Total Package just said in our YouTube chat they want to compete with China, which actually, ironically, is exactly correct. Bloomberg ran this story yesterday, and their headline was CIA builds its own artificial intelligence tool in rivalry with China. But what's really scary to me about this tool and the implementation of it across all 18 U.S. intelligence agencies is that the Restrict Act, which hasn't passed the United States Senate or the House of Representatives, is scary enough in that it's something that we see as citizens. We can read this bill, we can call our elected officials and tell them not to vote on it, we can lobby one way or another for a more free internet, but the exact same thing that the bill is proposing is already being rolled out and implemented behind the scenes, and they're starting to announce it and say the quiet part out loud, by our government anyway. So even if this bill doesn't pass, our own government, through all 18 of our intelligence agencies, is establishing their own artificial intelligence program to sift through your data, to sift through everything on the internet from American citizens, and to determine who is presenting a threat to freedom, a threat to democracy, a threat to freedom of expression and speech and the United States government. Of course, when they say that, they mean the exact opposite, because the people actually promoting freedom of speech in the digital age are the exact same people they would say are a threat to America and a threat to our government. Anybody want to talk about the Russell Brand situation in the last few days? Exactly. That's my point exactly. So if you think that it's just the UK government that's trying to urge people being deplatformed from social media or video platform sites, if you think that it's just the EU that lacks a formal declaration of freedom of speech in their government and therefore are wrought with problems for prosecuting people for speaking freely, we are doing the exact same thing here. We're just doing it behind the scenes where people don't have the opportunity to complain and people don't have the opportunity to fight back against it because it's happening within the shady behind the scenes, behind the curtain area of Washington, D.C., run entirely by our intelligence agencies and unelected bureaucrats. Very, very scary stuff. And you are exactly correct, Total Package. They are saying the quiet part out loud in that China is so bad, China is so evil, they want all of your data, and we would never do that. But now they're literally doing the exact same thing because the truth is our government is just as corrupt in almost every single example, and nobody wants to talk about it. Especially nobody wants to admit that their side is just as corrupt because we are trying to continue convincing ourselves based on the loudest voices in media and in politics and even on social media, that the divide today in America is between left and right. The divide today in America is between Democrats and Republicans, but it's both Democrats and Republicans in positions of power in Washington, D.C. that are allowing crap like this to happen, that are empowering our intelligence agencies to spy on you, American citizens, that are empowering our government to treat American citizens as foreign enemies to our country based on what you say on social media and what you post on the internet, even if you were just criticizing a particular politician or a particular policy. This is absolutely terrifying. And the truth is, we are no better than what all of our politicians claim that they care so much about with data security, potential breaches, or the ability of the CCP to access your data, because we are doing the exact same thing, just behind the scenes in secret, and not wanting you to be fully aware of it. And then we call ourselves the good guys. But are we really the good guys if this is how we treat our own citizens? No. And we do not live in a free country as long as this is continuing to happen. Pulling the strings just said in our Rumble chat, the U.S. are hypocrites of the worst kind. Our politicians truly are hypocrites of the worst kind, because they will hit a campaign trail or, I don't know, a debate stage tonight, for example, and say that they care about your data security, and say that they care about your freedom of speech, and say that they care about a free and open internet that allows people to have freedom of expression in the digital age, where our modern public forum and public square happens to exist on your phone, on the internet, on platforms like Rumble and YouTube and Getter and Locals and everywhere that we are currently live right now, or even Instagram and TikTok, where I do quite a bit of work. But do they actually mean it when push comes to shove? No, they don't. And they'll say just about anything to retain positions of political power while empowering this exact crap behind the scenes, assuming that you are going to remain ignorant of it and that you aren't going to do anything or fight back or say anything in the process. Daily Mail really unpacked this, I thought, in a great way yesterday afternoon, explaining what this artificial intelligence program is really going to look like. Forgive me, their website is like wrought with ads everywhere, so you kind of just have to bear with the process, but we'll take it one step at a time. Daily Mail reported this yesterday, that the CIA is set to roll out its own version of ChatGPT to try to comb the internet for what? Potential security threats. Considering our FBI, our own Federal Bureau of Investigation, our own justice system is already labeling people like me, Catholics who go to Mass on Sundays, domestic extremists, or radical traditionalists that pose a threat to democracy, it is extremely easy for me to connect the dots where the CIA might consider free-speaking individuals who are not bought and paid for by the government, or who are not bought and paid for by multi-million-dollar media companies in bed with the government, to be potential security threats. Little nice letters from the UK Parliament urging companies to deplatform people because of allegations of crimes will have nothing on what the implications of this are going to look like if we stand by and let it happen. An AI program developed by the CIA will be rolled out, as I said, across all 18 intelligence agencies in the United States government. The push comes as experts fear that China has taken a command over technology on the global stage. Despite fears that AI is not fully understood, the CIA's AI boss, Randy Nixon, said it could grow with no limitations other than how much things cost. That's basically being compared to ChatGPT, their new AI tool, to help sift through mountains of data for clues in ongoing investigations. Of course, we don't know what the CIA's ongoing investigations actually are. We're not privy to that information, so we have no idea where this implication is actually going to go, which is just a lovely and terrifying reality in and of itself, isn't it? Intended to mirror the famed OpenAI tech, that's ChatGPT's parent company, I think, the Central Intelligence Agency's latest initiative will use artificial intelligence to help analysts better access open source intelligence. The CIA's Open Source Enterprise Division developed the tech, which is also intended to be rolled out across the U.S. government's 18 intelligence agencies in an effort to rival, they're admitting this part out loud, China's growing intelligence capabilities. So we're not a dystopian socialistic totalitarian society. We're not a dictatorship. Don't you worry. We're a free country. We are a democracy. We want to make sure your voice can be heard in shaping policy. But we actually really are envious of the creepy totalitarian, authoritarian dictatorship and their ability to collect data on their own citizens and theoretically everyone else on the face of the planet. So we need to just do that ourselves because we're the good guys and we'll do it more responsibly. And you can trust us, kids. Trust your government. No. Immediately no. No, thank you. Unsubscribe. I will yeet myself out of this immediately. Not okay. The director of the AI division for the CIA said, we've gone from newspapers to radio to newspapers and television to newspapers and cable television to basic internet to big data, and it keeps going. He noted that analyzing the level of data across the web is a significant challenge that the AI program would help handle, adding, we have to find the needles in the needle field. What exactly are they looking for? I would be absolutely fascinated to know. The push comes to add artificial intelligence to the U.S. military and intelligence apparatus amid mounting pressure to compete with China's advancing potency on the world stage. In particular, China is feared to be stretching well ahead in the race to command artificial intelligence and is seeking to become the global leader by 2030, according to Bloomberg. In an ominous glimpse into the nation's use of the programs, in 2021, China developed a AI prosecutor that could identify and press charges with a reported 97% accuracy. Well, if we have robot police officers, why shouldn't we have artificial intelligence prosecutors working for the district attorney all over the country or even the U.S. Attorney General's office? Why not? Why shouldn't we have artificial intelligence lawyers deciding which Americans should be prosecuted, what your jail sentences should look like? And frankly, while we're even at it, why should we have juries anymore? Why should you be entitled to a jury of your peers if an artificial intelligence module could be just as effective, if not more effective, according to the government experts, in making sure we could press charges against you and lock you up and put you in prison? China's doing it, and if they're doing it, we need to do it better because that's what global supremacy is supposed to look like. In contrast, America's law enforcement sphere has also come under fire for struggling to utilize the power of AI in investigations. But this guy who works for the CIA said the new program will aid in condensing the unprecedented levels of information floating through the web. Among the CIA's new capabilities under the AI tool will be the capacity to see the original source of any information that they are viewing. Because that's not just terrifying. Nixon added that, like ChatGPT, the program will see agents use a chat feature to receive information as succinctly as possible. Then you can take it to the next level and start chatting and asking questions of the machines to give you answers also sourced, because there could be nothing wrong with any of the program there. There's no way that the programming could be wrong and you could be falsely prosecuting people for crimes that they didn't commit based on what a computer told you to do. That is totally impossible and definitely will never happen. Don't worry, you guys. Everything is super safe and very warm and fuzzy about this entire concept and idea. Our collection can just continue to grow and grow with no limitations other than how much things cost. Our collection, our little prized jars in the back room on a bookcase proudly displayed of all of your data and personal information and everything you've ever said on the internet, our cute little collection can just grow and grow and grow with no limitations because you don't elect us. We aren't responsible to you. You have no jurisdiction over what we do, American citizenry. We're just going to keep collecting all of your private information with no limitations because that's what we can do to beat China, to defeat China. Doesn't that make you feel so good and have so much trust in your government? This guy was drafted in as the CIA's new open source enterprise director in January, where he was expected to, quote, speed up the agency's development in open source intelligence, just as the field is causing increasing concern and spiking rivalry in Washington. And this is what he looks like. He just looks like such a happy, interesting guy. that would love to be trusted with all of your personal private information and absolutely no restrictions or responsibility in the process. China's embrace of artificial intelligence has worried some that America could be left behind, with the nation even introducing an AI news anchor earlier this year. To make up for its ever-growing AI operation, his division will reportedly draw in information from publicly and commercially available sources. However, the push to implement AI into intelligence gathering comes at a time where experts are still unsure of the technology's red flags, including the potential for the CIA's information to be accessed on the open internet. That also would be absolutely terrifying from a legitimate national security perspective, rather than the security of your private data. While it won't be made available for Washington lawmakers yet, Nixon said the program will be rolled out across all 18 of the U.S. government's intelligence agencies, including the FBI, the NSA, and all military branches. The same FBI that says people like me, because I go to Catholic church on Sundays, pose a direct threat to the government of the United States of America because I believe in God and worship God instead of worshiping government. That makes me feel so warm and fuzzy, safe and secure inside, that the same agency that's labeling me as such now will have access to an artificial intelligence program to sift through and debate whether or not every single thing I've ever said and or posted and or viewed and or interacted with on the internet might also pose a threat to the ongoing power of the United States government instead of individual freedom and liberty. Make no mistake about it, our founding fathers are quite literally rolling over in their graves right now. This is exactly the opposite of the country that they sought to establish. And we are either willfully ignorant that all of these things are happening, or aware that all of these things are happening and too afraid to say something, or even worse, aware and we don't care. We don't care because safety is better than freedom. Isn't that right? Especially post-2020, the government's ability to keep us safe, the government's ability to prevent horrible things from happening, the government's ability to keep our U.S. government strong against foreign enemies of the state, that is far more important than any individual liberty that you would ever be entitled to based on our founding documents or your rights given to you by God and not the government. And make no mistake about it, they say that this isn't available for lawmakers. If you've ever spent time in Washington, D.C., if you've ever worked in Washington, D.C., if you know anything about how the sausage is made, as they say, the amount of corruption that is currently present in our government with backhanded deals and people having access to things that they never should have access to, and confidential information being released to individuals who shouldn't have had access to that confidential information, that will happen at some point if it hasn't already happened. Again, the general rule of thumb here, when the government announces something that they're going to be rolling out, probably means they've already been using it this whole time. Just a thought. Just a little observation from stories past. Nitty Witty says in our chat, there's probably an AI module watching this stream right now. Probably. Everybody wave to my new AI agent, probably being monitored by my FBI agent. Should we give you a name? I don't know. Probably not, because you're not a human person. In August, the Defense Department also launched a task force to explore using this technology, including a view to better understand the downsides. Months before, in May, the director of the NSA, such a trustworthy organization, Gilbert Herrera, told Bloomberg that the intelligence community was still trying to find a way to take benefit of these large models without violating privacy. Sorry, maybe it's just me, but I seem to recall from literally a few weeks ago, this was the same NSA that somehow hacked into encrypted text messaging that the government shouldn't have had access to for Tucker Carlson when he was thinking about just exploring the opportunity to interview Russian President Vladimir Putin on his stream on Twitter. And they told him that that would be a massive implication for national security and that he can't do it. Even though he had never said it out loud, he had never sent an email about it. He had sent one message in an encrypted text messaging service that the government supposedly isn't supposed to be able to access. And the NSA called him in for a meeting and said, you're not allowed to do that. That violates national security. But sure, NSA director, tell me all about how your agency wants to not violate the privacy of individual United States citizens. In the announcement of the new AI initiative, the CIA reportedly did not detail how it would protect the information it gathers from seemingly vulnerable technology, nor which model it would use, of course, because they're not actually interested in protecting your information at all. They just want to point the finger and blame China for doing that. Nevertheless, he stressed the need to keep up with the unrelenting amount of data streaming throughout the internet. The scale on how much we collect and what we collect has grown astronomically over the last 80 plus years, he said, so much so that this could be daunting and at times unusable for our consumers. AI will help analysts work like never before because where the machines are pushing you the right information, one where the machine can auto-summarize, group things together. So machines are able to make sure we can filter through far more data, far more personal information, far more activity online from individual American citizens, and anything else present on the internet than just a human being. I ask again, what could possibly go wrong? Every single day, it is more and more apparent to me that we are not inching towards 2024, we are inching towards 1984. And I am absolutely terrified that the same supposedly free society that makes fun of the Big Brother mantra and trope, that celebrates books like 1984 and Orwellian ideology and what was presented by, so far ahead of his time, George Orwell, in his many pieces of literature. We require this reading in high schools. We make sure that people are aware of it in movies and the entertainment industry. And we warn against it in every single scary story that we tell about what a dystopian future might look like. That same society is actively applauding, empowering, or ignorant of the fact that this is happening right before our very eyes. This is a terrifying reality. And if this isn't making you shake in your boots quite a bit about what your elected or unelected officials in your own government are doing, it is time to wake up. The sad truth is all of these crazy dystopian bills and initiatives put forward by different senators or House of Representatives members or even your governor or the President of the United States, those are only the things that we know about and that we have an opportunity to push back against. AI modules from our intelligence agencies, this little announcement will be presented for a few minutes. It'll get barely any airtime, and it'll immediately go away back into the shadows to the point that we will not know how it's implemented. We won't know what data it's collecting. We won't know how it's protecting our information. We won't know. Because we don't know most of the really creepy, dystopian, scary things that are happening right now behind the scenes, behind the curtain, and that we don't have any opportunity to connect with on a human level. This ties a lot back to what we talked about on Monday when it came to politics and how to win elections, and that feelings really do matter as much as facts, not more, but as much as, because they are a vehicle through which we can communicate better ideas and better policy, and that feelings and emotions are what give us human beings a soul, that we aren't just robotic computers, that we aren't artificial intelligence modules or weird, creepy, giant R2-D2 robots rolling around in subway stations all over New York City, which is potentially the future that's right before us, because we can see the humanity and recognize the humanity in one another based on the emotions, the feelings, and the soul that we have ourselves. Rolling out an authoritarian society governed by totalitarian robots and AI modules sounds like something out of Blade Runner or 1984 or The Giver, and something that could never come to fruition, but it is coming to fruition. And we either laugh about it saying, they'll try it, but it'll never come into positions of power, or it'll never become truly real, or we're unaware that it is happening. And when we remove the human element from our society, we are not a free society. When we remove the human element from our governance, from restrictions on what you can do and not do in society, we are not a free society. We're not a free country. It's incredibly terrifying for me to think about how many things like this have been in development or even being utilized behind the scenes for years. but not yet officially launched or announced. The people who are introducing these crazy bills and these crazy initiatives that we see in local, state, and our federal government with every passing day are totally aware that stuff like this is happening, and they're not telling you, but they'll float the idea by you in a bill here or there to see how you might respond. The more you start paying attention to this stuff, the more questions you are going to have. And it's kind of like a snowball of intellectual curiosity, but one that every single person desperately needs to be engaging in, because knowledge is power. And an ignorant society that is unaware that these things are happening or laughs at them as some sort of radical conspiracy theory, even though they're literally telling us the quiet part out loud. Like, they're actually just telling us what they're doing at this point. The more they can take that knowledge away from us, the more they're able to control us. We laugh about robot cops and AI spying on your social media and all of the memes that you like, but this is very, very much the first step into you will own nothing and you will be happy, into a complete lack of any civil rights in society, into non-biased juries and judges and solicitors making sure that you are locked up for thought crime in a authoritarian, totalitarian society. Lizzie says in the chat, this world is getting worse and worse by the minute. We are approaching the last days and Jesus is probably coming any day now. We don't know that for sure. Nobody truly knows that, but I mean, it feels that way with every passing day. And I want you to know it can be really easy to feel overwhelmed, and it can be really easy to feel so suffocated or drowned even by all of the crazy, horrible dystopian things that are happening, but you still have power. You still have the opportunity to direct our society in a better direction. You still have the ability to support independent voices and independent creators instead of following along with the information or lack thereof in legacy and corporate media or from your government. You still have the opportunity to go research these things for yourselves. And most importantly, you still have the opportunity to say something about it, at least today. If we don't today, we might not be able to tomorrow. But when you guys tune into streams like this, when you repost videos from other independent creators, when you post things yourselves on the internet in our modern public forum and public square, that's how one day at a time we are able to effectively change culture, which down the line ultimately changes policy, changes society, changes governance as well. We just have to be willing to get up and say something and fight today. There are so many ways that you guys can do that. And it doesn't always look like doing what I do, right? Not everybody is supposed to be an author or a public speaker or do a live stream every day. This is not the lifestyle for everyone. I think everyone could do what I do every day, but not everybody is built to do the exact same thing, right? But being aware of this, teaching others about it, having conversations about it, and just being knowledgeable is the first step for how every single individual can speak up, to do something about it, to fight back, to go on offense, to be a player in this game of 4D manipulative chess I feel like we are playing every single day, rather than just treating life as a spectator sport. We can't afford to do that as we continue inching closer off the cliff into 1984 Orwellian society. But if we stand up and fight against it today, we just might be able to prevent something like that from happening. Only, though, if we all choose to jump in together. I told you guys at the end of our stream, I was going to tell you a little something about locals, which is very exciting. So I want to make sure you guys are aware of this. With everything happening with the Russell Brand allegations and Rumble and Locals, which are sister companies, being so under attack, it's never been more important to keep supporting individuals based on independent content creation and free content on the internet, not monetarily free, but free speech content on the internet, where you can help support individual creators is huge. And especially on platforms like Rumble and Locals that are being threatened to make to be made illegal in countries like the United Kingdom and potentially others moving forward. Helping to support your favorite creators on Rumble and Locals is so important. I and many other Rumble and Locals creators today am trying to help support the platform as much as we can, and humbly ask for your guys' continued ongoing support of all of the work that we are doing. We've had a Locals community for a really long time, and we would love to see every single one of you join our community over there. It's kind of like social media for people who hate social media. You guys get to post in our community. You get to know each other quite better than we do here on the stream. We have a post-game show every single day over on Locals and extra content that only exists for you over there, namely on dating and relationships and faith. But we also do some fun movie nights or just special streams, and we're starting a book club over there for everybody who wants to be a part of our more intimate community. I just dropped a link in our live chat for how you can join us with 1 month free off of our extra supporter content on Locals. And if you see anybody talking about the hashtag support free speech campaign on Twitter, I know there are tons of other Locals and Rumble creators talking about it today on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Please consider retweeting all of those tweets so that we just help make people aware of what is truly going on in this crazy upside down world, and with platforms like Rumble and Locals being so unbelievably under attack in the midst of all of the Russell Brand allegations and everything else going on. I am so unbelievably grateful for each and every one of you, and love spending every day, every afternoon, getting to know you guys better. If you haven't already, please consider smashing that follow or subscribe button, liking this stream, which could look like a little thumbs up or a heart, and ringing the notification bell so that you always know when we are going live or uploading new videos. We've got lots of fun stuff to share with you in the next couple of days, including some really exciting guests on the stream next week, and I can't wait to tell you more about it. Please consider joining us over on Locals for our post-game show using the link that I just dropped in our chat. We do a fun little Q&A and hang out with each and every one of you over there, and would love to get to know you on a more name-to-name, first-name basis. I'm so grateful for all of you guys. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. Be good people. Tell the truth. Commit thought crime. It's good for you every once in a while to burst your own bubble and think from a new perspective. We will see you tomorrow afternoon back on the stream at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we'll do some fun post-debate analysis tomorrow as we watch the debate tonight happening at the Reagan Library in California. Love you guys so much. We'll see you tomorrow, and have a great night. Locals, don't go anywhere.